Alright guys, this is going to be the review of the Lenovo S5, which, spoiler alert, you should not buy because there are so many other better phones than this. And I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below if you can think of a single reason why someone should buy this over, let's say, a Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus. So right off the bat, the Lenovo S5 is a 5.7-inch phone, and as you can see, the bezels on the phone are actually not too small. I was expecting something a little bit smaller. The promo images did indicate a little bit how big the bezels were going to be, but nevertheless, I'm still a little bit disappointed. And the top and bottom they're okay, but they're not super small. The sides are surprisingly big because if you combine the black part and the red part, you'll see that it's a good 3 to 4 millimeters thick. And if you look on the back, this is a nice metal back. It feels pretty good. I will say that this is not too thick metal. I have seen other phones with better, thicker metal shells on the back. Here you have the fingerprint sensor, the Lenovo logo, your dual cameras, which do stick out from the bottom, as well as your flash. Finally, we have the two rubber antenna bands, and I gotta say that the Lenovo S5 looks very, very similar to the Xiaomi Mi A1 and the Xiaomi Mi A2 from the back. And of course, here we have your power and your volume buttons and your SIM slot here. And here we have something very rare, a headphone jack, and you also have your USB-C, your microphones, a couple ones here, and your speaker grill. So overall, this is a very nice phone to hold in the hand. It feels pretty good. The size is not too big. It is not as small as I would have hoped for a 5.7-inch display. But it's still, it's thin, it's light, it's not too big. So I gotta say that this is a pretty good one-handed phone for those of you who like small phones or have smaller hands like me. All right, a very quick overview of the screen because I've already went through it a little bit. It's okay saturated, but it's not super saturated. Stuff looks okay, decent on this phone, but they don't look amazing. They actually look worse than some $50, $60 phones I've used because LCD screens have advanced to the point that even cheap LCDs can have very high saturation. This one doesn't have very high saturation. Detail is actually pretty good, but the major disappointment in this phone here would be the maximum brightness. I found the maximum brightness to be very low, so it's, it's actually fairly difficult to use in direct sunlight, which is something that I do understand, brighter displays cost more money, or you might have to overdrive it, but still, it's very hard to use in sunlight. That's my major complaint about this phone. Touch sensitivity is actually okay, so there's really not much to say about this. Touch is decent. It's almost as good as like an iPhone, like for all intents and purposes. So yeah, my only complaint is the brightness here. Talking a little bit about the audio. The audio here is actually pretty decent. I was surprised by how good the quality was. In terms of volume, you get some pretty decent volume. It gets loud enough for most situations. You can even hear some, soft conversations on this phone. Really no problem at all. The thing that I was surprised with was the audio quality. I was not expecting that much bass coming out from these speakers over here. And the other thing is that the clarity is also pretty decent. Pretty much good enough for most people. I don't think many people will complain. The only person who actually might complain is me or anyone who's actually used a SmartZen phone because the SmartZen still destroys this phone, blows it out of the water. But let's listen to some audio from the Lenovo S5 and so you can judge for yourself. Alright, so when we're talking about battery life, I gotta say that ZUI is generally pretty well optimized in terms of battery life. It might not be as good as MIUI, but it's gotta be at least within 90% of what MIUI is able to offer. I was able to get around 10 hours of screen on time with this Snapdragon 625 and a 3000 mAh battery, which is actually on par with the Xiaomi Mi A1, Xiaomi Mi 5X, with around the same battery size and the same battery sorry, not the same battery, but the same battery size as well as the same CPU, which is actually pretty impressive. So you really can't kill this phone in one day if you are a regular person. If you are me, you might be able to, but still, it's actually very, very good. So battery life here is no problem at all, and you even have quick charge, so you can charge this phone up in a very, very short time. Half an hour for like 50% battery life. So no problem with the battery life here at all. All right, so how many of you guys here remember ZUI? I was never a fan. I mean, there was a time when I was like, whatever, it's fine, but I've never really been a fan of ZUI. So this phone comes pre-installed with Android 8.0 as well as ZUI, or Lenovo Zuck UI. How many of you guys had the old Lenovo Zuck Z2? I love that phone. If you have it, comment down below. So this phone came with Google Play pre-installed, but you had to look for it, which is a little bit strange. And the other thing as well is it comes with a lot of bloatware. As you can see, WeChat's not really bloatware. To some people it might be. You got QQ, Tencent News, Himalaya FM, News. That's a news app, I think, and a video player, and all the crap like that. It'll take you maybe like 5 minutes to uninstall all this crap, but really no problem here. And the stock launcher here is pretty fast. It feels a little bit slower than MIUI, but I think it's due down to the animation time. And then you have your little left screen here that's pretty much a Chinese version of Google Now. You got all your news in Chinese and stuff like that, but if you don't read Chinese, it's really useless to you. And even if you do, like me, I can't read all of it, so that's useless as well. In terms of launching apps, it's actually pretty good. So let's launch a couple of apps on the Lenovo S5. Let's start with Chrome. And as you can see, that was pretty much instant. There was like a tiny bit of lag between when let me try that again. There's a little bit of lag between the taskbar showing up and the rest of the screen showing up. Here, watch that. See that? Taskbar, and then this thing shows up. So it's still like instant for all intents and purposes. And here is the Google Play Newsstand, which is redesigned. I'm not sure how much I like this new redesign, but for all intents and purposes, it's still a very fast app launch. Let's launch something a little bit heavier, and that would be Microsoft Word. It's heavier, and that was instant launch, but it took a little while to load into this over here. It's still very, very fast. Okay, let's try YouTube. A little bit of hesitation, but still, for all intents and purposes, very fast. Play Store as well, very, very good. And you have 4 gigs of RAM, actually, I have 4 gigs of RAM in mine. If you have 3 in yours, ZUI is not too heavy anymore, so I don't think it should be a problem for you. But if you got 2 gigs of RAM, that might be an issue, but 3 and up, you should be okay. All right, so here is some PUBG play, and we'll see how good it is. As you can see, it's actually pretty decent. I have everything on low, and of course the Lenovo S5, the Snapdragon 625 is not a top-end processor, but on the other hand, it's also not complete crap. So, playing stuff like PUBG will be pretty decent on this. I really don't foresee any problems. As you can see, I'm playing it pretty decently, and the frame rate is actually good. Compared to the Blueboo S3, which I just reviewed, frame rate here is good. I really don't have any complaints. It's fine. You can play PUBG. Battery life is going to be okay with this phone, but with regards to the rest of this thing, this is a decent gaming phone, but it's not going to be your top end, your Xiaomi Black Shark or anything like that. So nothing like that. Talking about network connectivity, this phone is not compatible in the US 4G anywhere. Maybe AT&T because it has band 5, but it doesn't have band 4. It's not going to be compatible with T-Mobile, Verizon, or Sprint. It will get AT&T, but you really shouldn't because there's not enough network bands. It will get 3G on T-Mobile and AT&T, so that's fine. In Canada, it's got full compatibility with Rogers and Bell, and it's going to work fully in Europe also. In terms of speeds, it was fine. I actually got up to 60 megabits a second download, which is actually pretty good. And in terms of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, those work well. GPS works well also. I didn't see any problems with the GPS. It works as well as a Snapdragon 625 should. Now, this is the one area where I find that the Lenovo S5 really outshines its competition, even though it's still not a better phone overall, and that would be the camera. If I was in good lighting conditions, I was able to take some very, very good photos. I was getting some good detail, some good color saturation, photos, bokeh photos, sorry, not bokeh photos, macro shots looked very, very good. I was surprised by how good they were. And taking photos of my dog, fast-moving objects, was pretty good. Also, the shutter speed is decent. I was actually very surprised. There is one downside, and that would be how hard it is to take photos of close-up objects because of the focal length. Because you really can't go too close to an object, otherwise it can't focus, kind of like this, which kind of sucks. You kind of have to move away if you want to get better shots. HDR mode works pretty good, but I recommend you turn it off and turn it on manually because it really doesn't know when to properly compensate. Sometimes it doesn't have to and it compensates anyway, and it's not very good. But yeah, bokeh mode works pretty well. There is a lot of bokeh with the dual shots, so I really like this camera for bright lighting conditions. But low lighting conditions, the quality actually dives a lot faster than what I found And similar phones like a Redmi 5, Redmi 5 Plus, stuff like that, the quality really dived in terms of detail. Detail just went down the drain, which is actually pretty sad. The front-facing camera is super duper weird. It has that weird Chinese make your face look whiter / less pimply. It made my face look really weird. So as you can see, my face looks super strange. If you guys haven't seen me enough in my videos, that does not look like my skin. It looks like I have no idea. Although the quality is pretty good, so I will give them that. In terms of video, you can take 4K video, but I gotta say that the 4K video quality is not as good as I was expecting. You know, the photo quality was good, was very good actually, like in terms of bright lighting conditions, but the video quality, the faster you move, the more artifacting there is and the lower the detail went, and you can actually see some artifacting in the shadows, as you can see my dog running. So the video quality here, it gets better the slower you move the camera, let's put it that way. So it really isn't good at handling fast moving stuff. So that's really one downside of the camera. Alright, so conclusion, it's pretty easy actually. Is this phone decent? Yes, it's decent. Should you buy this phone? No. This phone costs about $170. Well, it's supposed to cost $170, but regular price goes from $220 all the way up to $375, which is absolutely ridiculous. And even at $170, I cannot think of a single reason why you should get this over a Redmi 5 Plus. If you buy this over the Redmi 5 Plus, I really don't know why you would do that. Maybe you like ZUI better, maybe you like Lenovo better, but anything you want in this phone, the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus offers for a lower price and is better also. So let me know what you think in the comments down below about the Lenovo S5. Be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit the little notification bell beside the subscribe button to make sure you're notified of any of the latest videos that come out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.